Hello everyone, my speech is about voodoo, specifically Louisiana or New Orleans voodoo. Voodoo in general is often misinterpreted to be evil or a form of devil worshipping. However, Louisiana voodoo, which is also called New Orleans voodoo, is anything but evil. I am going to explain how Louisiana voodoo came to be what it is. At the same time, I plan on giving an accurate account of voodoo practices and showing that it should not be considered evil or a form of devil worshipping. First, one of the largest reasons that voodoo is rarely accepted as religion is because it is thought to be evil, as I said before. This, however, is entirely untrue. Many different misconceptions led to the general population sharing this opinion. One of the largest misconceptions about voodoo is about the voodoo doll. Voodoo dolls were not meant to be used to bring harm to people. Quite the opposite, they were usually used to bless people by sprinkling some sort of powder on them. People think the pins were used on voodoo dolls, and they are correct. However, by what they think, it was used only to pin a picture or frame or a name to the doll representing a spirit. Another misconception is that voodoo practitioners are some zombies. While this is mostly false, there is a reasonable explanation to why people thought this. Voodoo priestesses or priests would give a chemical to their victims to stimulate death. After the funeral, the practitioner would go back and dig up the body to revive it. To give them the soulless state, they were kept heavily sedated so that the body appeared to be alive while lacking a soul, which gave them the appearance of being a zombie. The combination of these two parts of misconceptions and that they believed in multiple spirits led to the misconception that voodoo practitioners were devil worshippers. One of the main differences between the original voodoo and Louisiana voodoo stems from the African and Catholic influences. When slaves were brought to Louisiana specifically, they brought the language, culture, practices, and religious beliefs. Part of the cultural practices included making charms, which became a aspect of Louisiana voodoo. The charms were made for protection, healing, or for harming others in some cases. At the time that the slaves were brought to Louisiana, the colonies weren't yet a stable society, and as a result, African culture was able to maintain a prominent position in the slave communities. The authorities at the time prohibited the separation of families by law, which meant that spouses were sold together along with children under the age of 14. This allowed slaves to have a self-confident community and because that it kept their culture and spirituality alive, unlike in other places. Um, During their rituals, many times they would call upon Allah, the Christian God, and Jesus Christ for protection. Because of this openness to other beliefs, that allowed the blending of Catholic beliefs into voodoo that helped create the Louisiana voodoo as it is. Many of the traditional voodoo spirits of Catholic priests or Catholic saints presided over similar spiritual lives. Due to this, many saints and voodoo spirits were paired together used interchangeably. However, when the French Creole language replaced the native African languages, the names of the spirits were replaced with the saints they were paired with. A good example of this would be the pairing of Papa Legba and St. Peter. Papa Legba was the guardian of crossroads, gates, and entrances to villages, while St. Peter is known as the guardian of heaven, and in pictures is frequently depicted as holding the keys of heaven. During these times, the popular song in Louisiana about St. Peter was really similar to a voodoo song for Papa Legba. For St. Peter was, St. Peter, open the door. I'm calling you, come to me. St. Peter, open the door. And ultimately, for Papa Legba, it was, Papa Legba, open the gate for me, Agoe. Atiman Legba, open the gate for me. The gate for me, Papa Legba, so I may enter the temple. On my way back, I shall thank you for this favor. Another thing that had a negative impact on voodoo, particularly in New Orleans, is commercialization. When New Orleans voodoo became a tourist destination in the United States, many tourists heard about voodoo practitioners. As a result, the tourists started looking for voodoo practitioners to ask favors for them. Because true voodoo practitioners tried to never deny someone asked for help, they became overburdened, and as a result, true voodoo became an underground religion. People looking for fame and fortune at the time started using voodoo as a business and a means to earn money. They would give out fake potions, powders, and freebies, which are the charms that I was talking about earlier, for money, which is something that true practitioners never did. It was actually a favor where you would pay for it. Later on, when movies started being made, it helped to negatively impact how voodoo was viewed by most people. Even worse, because it was never shown correctly. Um, it was always portrayed negatively, about the voodoo dolls and the zombies particularly, and it always gave the general population the impression that voodoo was specifically meant to harm people. Talking about people, one of the people that can be most attributed with the influence of voodoo was Mary Laveau. The only problem is that her life is shrouded in mystery and is very little known fact. The most known fact is that she was born in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Her parents were a rich white planter and a free Creole of color, and when she was older, she lived in the colony of St. Anne Street of New Orleans French Quarter. Part of her, she quickly rose to power in New Orleans, became known as the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans because she grew to power so quickly that she pushed all other voodoo queens out. And behind her cottage, she held private rituals, which were either exorcisms or she acted as an oracle, offered sacrifice to spirits. She was said to have a large snake named Zombie, which was named after an African god, and she frequently used during some of the rituals. She was always she was always said to have great powers of divination, and looking back at most historians, many people believe that it was simply an extension of a large network of informants which had all over the city. Some people go as far as to claim that she ran her own brothel that she used for the same purpose. But despite all this background for her, she was still a devout Catholic. She would encourage all her followers to attend Catholic Mass, and it was particularly because of her that Catholic beliefs were incorporated into the practices of voodoo. As part of her influences, the Hail Mary, the Lord's Prayer, and baptism and the sign of the cross were brought into voodoo practices. The sign of the cross is particularly important later because it would start to be incorporated into charms that they made. Um, Even after her death, her legend continued to grow though, because in the newspaper it was reported that she was beheaded on top of the building. However, after that, there's still many sightings of her around the village, which built up on top of the beliefs of in spirits for the people that practice voodoo. At the same time, another thing was that one of her daughters, who had the same, who was named after her, um, took up the title of Voodoo Queen of New Orleans and kept that going for many years after she died. Um, Both of them, particularly, including most voodoo practitioners, they were rarely ever malevolent and very rarely violent or harmful, which is what most people tend to think about voodoo. Hopefully, that while it can be used for malicious intent, you can realize now that it's not what it was meant to be used. Movies and superstitions and some people's religious bias have painted a negative picture of voodoo and its practices, and because of this, there are very few true voodoo practitioners left in the United States. I believe it would be a very sad day when a religion that shaped part of our country, the South, was faded away entirely.